So once again, quick disclaimer, this call is being recorded and we will place our recording in our YouTube channel. If you're not comfortable with it, you can drop off now. Okay, so happy Friday. Thank you for joining for another session of Azure Power Lunch. And today we're going to talk about a new service which has gone just into public preview, Azure Web PubSub service. So here is a quick agenda um, that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about WebSockets, kind of a quick level set, what this service is all about, how WebSocket comes into picture, and then some of the key concept demo, the usual stuff. Before we go further, I want to talk about Build conference is coming next week. It's a Microsoft premier event uh, for developers. So as you know, we have Ignite, which is mostly focused on uh, broader audience, IT as well as modern workspace at the workplace, and at the same time, this one is focused on developers. So it's available online. It's free. Register it. A number of sessions. I think you will find them useful. So just want to mention that, and I'm sure there are going to be new announcements as well in that conference. So quickly moving forward. So just a quick level set. Um, I hope everybody knows about WebSockets. If you don't, here's a quick kind of a blurb about it. Basically, WebSockets um, allows you to communicate, allows two-way communication or full duplex communication over a TCP connection, basically over HTTP. It's a layer 7 protocol and it's relatively new and it kind of enables certain very interesting scenario where which were not possible before. Okay, so we have talked about WebSockets. So let's talk about Azure Web PubSub service. This service provides this capability of doing WebSockets based PubSub mechanism as a service. So you don't have to kind of build anything on your own. You can build this, use this platform as a service uh, from Microsoft and build your real-time web application. So the scenario that it empowers are kind of it's a long list of scenarios. So, for example, you have you want to provide real-time updates to your web application. You know, things are changing. Let's say that there are um, dashboards that you're empowering, and you want to update those dashboards. You want to update price or inventory of um, or let's say available tickets or price of those merchandise that you want to update. That's what you can do. You want to do real-time ads that you can do instead of like browser without you having user to refresh the browser, you can send these directly to the user browser. Collaborative apps. So for example, the scenario where multiple people working on the same app in certain cases or games for that sort where you can use these um, use WebSub backend empowered by Web PubSub service to for all these people to collaborate and communicate with each other. Real-time broadcasting is another scenario. Of course, IoT and connected devices, that goes without saying. So it is currently in public preview. And by the way, just want to mention this thing that keep in mind, you don't have to write your client in C sharp or a particular language. It has SDK available for both C sharp, JavaScript, so Node.js. So basically, and once again, since it's JavaScript, you can use it in the browser as well. So excellent support for end-to-end application scenario. Any questions so far? Okay, so let's talk about some of the key concept first. Okay, and those are, what is a service? First of all, service is basically your web PubSub service. You go in Azure portal, create a web PubSub service. That's what it is. Hub. Think of it. It's uh, your a topic if you think of in messaging terms. It is a logical construct. You can have many hubs in a single PubSub service. So what that does is, let's say that you have a, once again, I'm sorry, I have to give an example of a chat application. You have a chat application and there are multiple people who are chatting and eh, on a particular topic. That's where you want to create a hub. So when multiple clients are connected to a hub, they can all, when they send message, they can send message to another client based on the, you know, based on the client connection or connection ID simply, or they can send that message to everyone. And of course, a group of clients, um, is uh, there's a concept of a group as well, which is a number of clients in a group, or a client can join multiple groups. So just keep in mind, it's kind of a, if you think about it, it's kind of a, like a messaging app like WhatsApp or thing like you have groups. People are part of multiple groups and groups have multiple people, things like that. Very similar. But I mean, in terms of concept, okay, this is once again, this is a bare bones service. This is a piece of infrastructure that you use to build your messaging or application that require two-way communication. Okay, and then there is an event handler which sits on the server side, and we will take a look at it. There's some concept which is kind of a bit kind of uh, confusing at some time, but uh, we'll go through it to clarify it. So the concept of server is sitting. This is basically the your server responding to the events. Okay, so that is um, once again connects to the service, and uh, client sends request to the service, service sent to the server. That's how this whole thing works. Okay. So I think this picture will explain a lot of things. So you have the service, you went in, you created a service, a web PubSub service, then you have a server. That server can be, um, I mean, you have this server that you created, and that server can invoke. And by the way, once again, the server concept is just once again a bit logical concept, because what you're doing there is it is just responding to the HTTP request. That's all it is doing. REST requests are coming in and responding to that. Okay. Um, and then client connect to the service and start communication. There are two ways client can communicate to it. One, the WebSocket protocol, and then there is a sub protocol which is called um, Web PubSub WebSocket protocol, and this is specific to this Web PubSub service. Okay, and of course, all the communication between the service and the server happen through cloud events, which is an open protocol. And this is kind of a sequence diagram how this communication takes place. There are three events, or I should say four events that you should keep in mind. The first, when the WebSocket does a handshake from client to service, at that time, a connect event is sent to the server, which notifies that, hey, a WebSocket is trying to establish a connection. Once the connection is established, a connected event is sent, which basically acknowledges the connection is established, and now um, service can send messages or client can send messages. And that time client started sending messages. And at the same time, server can send message to the client as well. Okay, so this is like the two-way communication that we talk about. And then in the end, there's a disconnection and then basically uh, end of communication between client and service. Okay, any questions? Okay, we'll
No,
come back.
I had a question. Is it
Yes.
similar to Azure Service Bus Relay, which also communicates, I think, using the WebSocket communication?
Actually, it is a bit different because Relay has a certain purpose. Relay is not your typical PubSub service. It basically allows you, it's kind of similar to ngrok, you know, where you have a service that is running on-prem. You want it to be accessible over the internet without opening, without doing any sophisticated stuff like site-to-site VPN or things like that. You can use relay service. So it allows you, what it does is it opens a outbound socket, and where it listens to it as request comes to that socket, it responds back, giving the illusion that service is running somewhere on the internet. Okay. On the other hand, this service is a true PubSub, provide the true PubSub capabilities. You create a hub and you say, hey, I'm ready to receive messages. And then clients can join in and keep sending messages. And at the same time, as they're sending messages, they can send messages to all the clients which are connected to the hub or only to a few clients. So
So I have
that's
a
the difference.
I have a requirement where a client wants to send, they keep getting files, using FTP from a third-party provider, and those files land on a Windows VM on-prem, and they want to pump this into into Azure using Service Bus with WebSocket connection. Is that possible? In that scenario, which option would you recommend? The Service Bus Relay or this service?
I would think about the maximum message size in this case is 1 MB. If your files are that size, that should be good. Normally, if you are doing a file exchange, it may be a better idea to use things like, Azure Files or something like that, or Azure Storage, where you are using message bus maybe, but your files are in storage, and this pointer to the files is passed to the message bus, and down the other side, there's a process that can download those files.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Navid,
Yes.
is there a difference between the SignalR service and the Azure PubSub service?
Oh man, I knew that this question is gonna come up, and look at that. So let me just bring this here. So this is my Azure portal. I have already created a Web PubSub service, and folks, look at the properties of the Web PubSub service, and tell me what you see.
Oh, it's it's built on SignalR service. All
It
right,
seems
got it.
like it is built on
Yeah.
top of SignalR. Okay,
Yeah.
one thing, and by the way, strictly this is my opinion. This is not Microsoft's opinion, and you can take it or think what I'm smoking. My thing is that this service is kind of for a very broad audience, where SignalR, it's kind of focused on .NET applications. This service, with the number of SDKs that are available, and the open support that provides, it is targeting a more broader audience, more broader set of applications. But it seems like it is built on top of, based on what I'm seeing in the, you know, it, the resource ID, it seems like it has a very close relationship, or some it seems like built on top of a SignalR service. Okay.
Yep. Cool. Thanks, Navid.
You're welcome. Okay, so this is, I have created one instance. By the way, there are two versions of this service available. One is free. That's the one I'm using. There is no SLA. You can play with it. 20 connections, one single unit. Standard, you can go up to 100 units, 1,000 connections per unit. So basically, it's 100,000 connections possible. So think of this thing that you can you can send it to 100,000 uh, a browser that may be running. So let's say that your application, you want to broadcast it, so you can send it to 100,000. Okay, and this is the amount of inbound, outbound included. Uh, Bandwidth. Just keep in mind the message size is 1 MB. And once again, this is targeted for messaging where you are sending like either targeted advertisement and things like that. This is not for where you want to send very, very large amounts of data to your application. So that's being said that kind of at a high level, this shows you like how many connections there are at the moment, and and then this is the key. So basically, these are that's how you access the service. Okay. Managed identity, as usual. Managed identity is as a first class citizen here. So you can create either system managed identity or use a user assigned identity, things like that. So with that, let's start with a kind of a quick demo. So first demo that I want to show you. Okay, so this is the first demo. I have this simple a Node.js app, and there are two files. One is publish and one is subscribe. Okay, so this subscribe app is very simple. It is creating a subscription and with a connection string and a hub name. That's all there is doing to it. And what I'm doing is here, I am using the Azure Web PubSub package. So Node.js package. I'm using that. There is, if you are using C Sharp, and or C Sharp is your favorite language, then there is a NuGet package for Web PubSub as well. So you can use that. Okay. So at the moment, as you can see, it's creating that subscription, and then there is gonna be a, I'm just gonna do another one, another from another console. I'm gonna send some message to that subscription, and you will see those message coming in. This is very, very simple application. Let's start with that, and then we will go to a little bit more kind of more focused scenarios. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a control, and let's start this connection again. So we opened it up. So at this point, this it is connected to the service, and it is waiting for any events that come in this way. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the second one, and I am going to. Yes, any questions? So I'm going to send a message here, and you will see a message is sent. That's all it does. And this message is showing up here. Okay. And so basically, think of this thing. You are one side is publishing message, another side is receiving. There are multiple subscribers. So what we can do is let's add another of this, and okay, let's copy this thing from here. Let's create another subscription, and you will see the both subscription will get the message. Okay, so yes, it is connected. So let's send that message again, and we call it hello world 2. Okay, and let's see both sides. As you can see, both the 1 and 2 both saw this message. So very simple. So as Um, it's not very sophisticated example, but just to prove the point, you have multiple subscriber and you're publishing messages, and both the subscriber are receiving messages. Just kind of, if you expand the scenario, there can be a number of application that you know can help address those use cases. Okay, so let's look at another example, Azure Functions. Okay, and when we are going to talk about Azure Functions, so it has first-class support for Azure Function Binding. So basically, you can send from Azure Functions, you can send messages. You can use them as the as a you can use PubSub as a binding for Azure Functions. So let me show it here. Um, this is the function index.cs. And as you can see, if we go into host.json, one second. Yes, so it is using uh, the Web PubSub binding to send information to the to send information. Basically, it is using the Web PubSub binding to send information to the Web PubSub, our set. Okay. This is the notification function. That's I want to show you. Sorry. As you can see here, this is the Web PubSub operation. So index.cs, it just display a web page, and this particular function, it runs, it's a timer function, timer trigger, and it asynchronously send messages to the to all the clients of the PubSub service. Okay, and once again, all the settings are here. I have provided the storage account, and I have provided all these settings here for this thing to run. So all of this is set up here. So if I start this function, I do func start. So once this function is running, by the way, in the meantime, any questions? Okay, so I'm just going to open this and let me move this browser here. So this is here. And I'm just gonna say, yeah, connect to this endpoint. So it's gonna connect to this particular endpoint. So at this point, it is kind of listening to those events as those events are coming in. So think of it, if we go back to the VS Code, through the binding and this notification, this is the most interesting function. We are every 10 seconds, if you're familiar with cron job, every 10 second, an event is sent to that Web PubSub service. So if they have multiple browsers, so if what I can do is I can go in here and I can say duplicate tab, and I do it here. So both the tab will be starting receiving notification. As you can see, this is basically now we have two clients, and they're kind of both connecting to the service and both are receiving notification. Okay, so let's go back here to our portal. Let's see what's going on here. As you can see, there are three clients. Remember, one client we have in the beginning where we were doing some testing, and these are the other two clients. Okay, so let's go quickly back to our slide deck. We already talked about it. This is currently in public preview. These are the regions which is available here. And we already talk about its relationship. I mean, kind of what other services that are there. Some other services I mean, which are kind of closely related, is SignalR, which provide very similar functionality. And but this service is specifically focused on PubSub. Just keep in mind, in the past, where we have to do these things through long polling, WebSockets, fill this gap, allows you to do it in a kind of a two-way communication, full full duplex two-way communication over TCP connection. And this service provides you a way to make it as a PaaS service, have a PaaS service that provides all that capability. So I'm pretty sure as this service evolves, there would be, it will be spreading to more regions and things like that, and we'll have more things to talk about it. So with that, one last time, any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, then I will give everybody their 3 minutes back and hope to see everyone next week into another session of Azure Power Lunch. So everybody have a great weekend.